Hey guys, welcome back to Freestyle Unlimited. Today we are going over some stuff on the Revolver. After the last video where we lake tested the ski, we found out that there were a couple issues that I wanted to address before we take it out again. I'm hoping to go out on Sunday. Two major things we ran into is I've got a power valve leak. So I've got it all torn apart here. I'm going to show you guys, that's kind of what this video is about, is we're going to go over what power valves are, how they function, and why they are so cool, and kind of all the little pieces that go into making the power valve work. So that's going to be kind of the gist of this video. The other thing we're going to be doing, I'll probably make a separate video, but it'll probably be a short, is we're running into an issue where we have too much cooling because we have all of our cooling lines coming in. And we have all of our lines here coming out. There's no restriction. So since the water temps are only about 53 degrees right now, we are running too cool. So I'm going to get some restrictors. We're going to put them in the lines and we're going to hope to bump those temps up a little bit so it'll run a little bit better. But today's video, as I said before, is going to be going over the power valve. So let's get into it. You guys might be asking, what is a power valve? So we're going to go over the idea of it and kind of the theory behind it and how they work. And then we'll dig into it and we'll actually assemble it. And I'll show you kind of how everything fits together. So the power valve is located right here on the exhaust side. This is what your power valve looks like. It's got a little bellow on it and it moves up and down with the exhaust gases. So as I assemble this, I'll kind of tell you how everything functions. Over here, we've got all of the little pieces that go to the power valve. We've got our return spring, we've got some of our hardware. This is the old gasket, and unfortunately I actually didn't have any gasket, so I had to make a new one. So I just cut that and fitted it to everything. This is going to be our centering cap for our power valve. This is going to be our power valve bellow. This is the power valve itself that sits in the cylinder, and then this is going to be the cap for the top. So as you can see, it'll come together like this. But these things are really, really neat. They're kind of a blade shape, and you can kind of see they've got a little bit of a chamfer there on that bottom edge. But the idea behind them is they sit in the cylinder here. Let's see if I can slide it in here. And it slides down in there, and it seats in there, right? But the cool thing is these two strokes run on port timing. So let me get a light. If we look in here inside of this slot here, you can actually see the piston. It's kind of hard to see in there, but you can see our piston rings right there. That is the cylinder. The idea behind port timing is that as we increase in RPMs and we get into our upper band, the exhaust gases push this out, push this away from the piston, which changes the top end port timing. This essentially sits around the piston, and when it moves up, it'll increase the displacement on your exhaust manifold, and it'll allow for more movement, which will allow for more power on the top end. So on the low end, when this is down closer to the piston, you get a lower port timing, and then when the exhaust gas pushes this up, you get a higher port timing. So it allows variable port timing on these high performance motors, and you get kind of the best of both worlds with everything. But they're a really neat system. They're mechanical. They're very basic. There's not a lot to them. That's it. So let's assemble this. So I'm going to go over some of these parts here. We've got our main power valve. I guess you could call it the blade. We've got our sealing O-rings that will hold our bellow onto our lower mounting plate. And our upper cap, so it'll sit kind of in between those two, kind of like this. Flip that over, cap will go in there, it'll seal on there, and then our power valve will mount to the middle here. So, okay, and we've got our gasket here. One thing I forgot to mention is there is a spring. This is going to sit on top of the power valve between this and the cap, so that the exhaust gases actually have to overcome the spring to change the port timing, so it's not in there flapping around. So the spring's very important, and the different weight of spring will change when that power shifts in the power band. So very cool, a lot of variation in these. You can tune these, you can do a lot of really cool stuff with them. Anyways, let's get to assembling here. This base plate is what allows our exhaust gas to flow through and actually push up and create positive pressure inside of the bellow, which allows this cap to move up and pull the power valve up. As you can see, there's this tiny little hole in here that goes straight through at an angle. So that will essentially pull exhaust gases from here, and it'll pressurize that top area. So you're not just getting a ton of exhaust all up at once. It'll kind of feed through that line, and you won't pop your power valve off. So I'm gonna start assembling this, and then we'll get this thing back in the ski here. I'm gonna start off, try and do all of this one-handed so that I can show you guys everything. We're gonna start with our lower O-ring onto the bellow, just like this. Kind of push it around there. It's on there. That's gonna seal it onto our lower plate. We're gonna squeeze it and stretch it onto our lower plate here. Make sure our O-ring's seating nice and tight and everything looks good. And then we're gonna get our cap in here, kind of squeeze it around the edges, make sure it's seated fully all the way around. Then we're gonna throw our other large O-ring. I'm gonna redo the O-rings on both of them just because I have one of them apart. This one was the only one that was actually leaking, so I didn't really feel the need to tear the other one apart, but I probably will buy some new gaskets and redo it all after we kind of get the ski tuned in and everything going. This one might be kind of hard to do with one hand. I got these as kind of upgraded O-rings. Let me get this one on and I'll come right back. All right, so I've got my two O-rings on. We're all good. We're nice and sealed up. So we are going to drop our blade in, and we'll get everything sealed up. So you want to make sure, because of the way the piston travels in this, you want to make sure this chamfer stays on the bottom end. It actually looks like I might have a little nick in my thing there, which is odd. Nothing too crazy though, but we are just going to drop it in there. Like I said, that chamfer is going to go on the lower edge so that we don't hit the piston. We're going to just take it and slide it straight in. Okay. We are all the way in. And then I'm going to get my gasket on there. We're going to drop our spring on here. Sits right around there. We get our gasket seated on here, and I'm going to stick it on here. I'm going to have to use both hands to hold it down and get the screws started, and then I'll come back to you guys. So another thing to mention is it's kind of odd. See this bottom thing? It's got this transfer port across to the other side. That's where our exhaust gas gets up into our bellow. But our port on the motor is on this side. So we just want to make sure that we get the holes lined up. I only cut one hole in the gasket because I only need one hole, and it's actually going to line up on this side, and then it'll allow gas flow across to the other side. But I might enlarge the hole just a little bit just to make sure we get enough flow, because the hole on this one was a little bit bigger. But you have to make sure those holes are lined up. Like here's the old gasket with the larger holes versus mine. So we're going to make the holes a little bit bigger, because if you don't line those holes up, your power valve will not work and your motor will not run properly. All right, so I've got my hole enlarged. We're going to put this on the plate. We're going to get it mounted on there. I also trimmed the top edge of the gasket just to make sure that it wasn't going to ride on the cylinder, since we have kind of an odd cylinder shape here. The other one on this side is actually folded up, and I'm wondering if that's part of what caused the issue on this one. So I'm going to get this put together, and then I will show you guys kind of what it looks like all together. Alrighty, so I've got the base on here. It's still loose, but we've got this screw started, we've got this screw started, and we have the main screw started into the shaft on the power valve. So I'm going to snug everything up, and then we'll go over it again. All right, we are all torqued down, and that's it. That is a freshly resealed power valve. We've got our fresh O-rings on here, and again, these with the exhaust pressure, once you overcome that spring, they will move up and change our port timing. So if you guys have any other questions about power valves and you want to learn more, I'm going to be doing a lot more educational videos about freestyle. I mean, really, this is my first ski of this caliber. I want to be able to use it as a teaching tool to help people learn about the sport and hopefully drive more people into it. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Please check out the channel, check out some of the other videos. We're going to have a lot more content coming out soon. But yeah, thanks again. Like and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next video.